Jeff and the Rabbi. Post-election.
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 It's a different world.
The Rabbi being...
We're great again.
The Rabbi obviously predicted the whole thing because he knew he had a connection.
Yeah, that's right.
Almost down to the electoral vote he predicted.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So the election's there. Donald Trump is the next president of the United States.
Right.
And so I think we're going to explain why today. I think what we'll do is I might take the secular side of the explanation, and since the Rabbi is usually typecasted here, he gets to do the religious, the Judaic Torah version of why this happened.
Right, which is actually pretty secular in a certain way. Yeah.
I'm just going to go quickly what I think. You hear all these people out there, they're screaming, they're yelling right now. There's more people protesting, I think, against Trump than voted for Hillary. I think they're out there right now. Maybe if they would have voted, things would have been a little different, but we're a fascist country. This is based on, we're a racist country, we're a misogynist country, and xenophobic. There's a lot of other ists and things that I think we are now.
Right.
And my quick theory here is, and I never was really a Trump fan. That was not my guy. I'm a conservative Republican. He was never my guy, and I didn't think he was. But I think the one thing that these protesters got right is the fascism part of it. I think this election was about fascism. And the reason that is I think for the last 8 years, we've been in a country pretty much almost run in a progressive fascist way, and I think people had enough and they repudiated it. Take this. I mean, in a situation where it comes down from decree from on high, from now on, against all biology, against all science, a boy is a girl and a girl is a boy, and if you don't like it, you're done, you're out of society. North Carolina, a state, votes to say, no, you can't, a boy can't use the girl's bathroom, and they're shunned from society. They're kicked out of society. Bruce Springsteen won't play music there anymore. That's fascism. And I think people realize it. When they find out that hands up, don't shoot didn't really happen, but it's ruled from on high, yes, it did. You have to accept that white cops are killing black people because they're black, even if statistics don't show that. And if you don't, you're in trouble. That's fascism. It's fascism when a Christian or a Jew has a job that he can no longer perform because now society says, if you don't bake that cake for a gay wedding, you can not work in America. I believe that's fascism, and that's what the definition of fascism is. And I think one reason it shows that fascism is because the majority of the American people quietly, because they were too scared, like in many fascist countries, said, I can't take this anymore. I don't care what it is, I'm voting against this. And I think what we had was a repudiation of Barack Obama and fascism. And I'm sticking with it.
Wow.
Now, that's my secular answer. Now, Rabbi Freeman, who's a little bit, listen, he's a little bit more high up there in his religious-minded activity. He's going to give us a different opinion. Where am I wrong?
It's very interesting that I've met some people that had said it was all about fascism, except they kind of had the sides just absolutely
But they're
reversed.
wrong, darn it. If they disagree with me, they're out. So
Right.
that's it.
I mean, some people are saying that it has a little bit more to do with like the Mussolini-ish type thing. Well,
I started there.
it doesn't really matter as long as the trains run on time.
Right.
Right? Like, who cares? Okay, we'll send a few million Jews off to here or there, but as long as the trains are running on time again, Anyway, I'm not sure if it's fascist or it's not, because I heard an interesting figure. They did some exit polling, and they found that there are people who voted for Obama who now voted for Trump.
Okay.
And not just a small amount of people. So part of people switched from voting for Obama to Trump. And you could say, well, they were so let down by Obama that they switched over to Trump. But, it's hard to hear that if they liked Obama, they liked Trump. So I started thinking about what are the similarities between the two that led both of them to actually, and here's the key in the electorate, to motivate a group of people who don't usually vote. You see, what we got going on in the country is you got a whole big percentage of the country votes Republican and a big percentage of the country, an equal, votes Democrat. And they're pretty much equalized here. Now, what happens is there's these few percent of people that actually don't vote unless they're motivated to vote.
Absolutely. Yep.
Someone's got to turn them on. Now, what turns them on? So what I believe is that what turns them on, what I believe is what turns on everyone. And what is an amazing capacity, and I want everyone to stop and think about this. Imagination. Imagination is really a strange thing. Do you realize that we can imagine things and they become real to us? People imagine that someone's trying to hurt them. That person may or may not be. But if I imagine that they are, it becomes real. People can get sick. People can taste things. You can imagine things. People who are depressed, they can be trained to imagine a different state of being, and they are in a different state of being. People can imagine a vision of something, or we can fantasize, and we know people fantasize, and the fantasy becomes their reality, and they live in their fantasy.
That's true.
They're living in it, and they adopt it, and they're living it, and they've decided it's their reality, and they live that way. So it's a wonderful capacity, actually. There is no way that anyone is ever going to motivate the beavers to build more dams than they're building. Every beaver gets up every morning, he goes out to build a dam.
Yep.
That's it. That's what he does. He can't be more motivated or less motivated. You never find an unmotivated beaver. I'm not building. Why aren't you building? The winter's coming. No. You don't find him, right? They are not unmotivated, and they can't be motivated. They build the same amount no matter what. Okay? And they'll try, and they'll try, and they'll try regardless of the circumstances. They'll just keep trying. But people are not like that. People get turned on. People get turned off. And what is the capacity of turning on and off people? It is, I believe, in their imagination. God created a capacity for people to dream and to envision, to have dreams of things. When I say here a dream, like an imaginary image of something, and it can motivate people to do great things, or horrible things, by the way. Right. Can motivate people to do really bad things, right? Sometimes you could say, we dream of making Germany great again.
Right.
All it's going to take is we're going to have to kill 6 million Jews and however many millions of other people.
Right.
But and then people are going to say, yeah, well, it's too bad about all those millions of people that had to be killed. But I have this dream of making Germany great again.
It worked for a while. Yeah.
Turned on a whole boatload of people, and the only way they could be stopped was literally with guns. You had to physically stop them. So go the other direction. You get MLK. He can speak to a big crowd. Hitler spoke to a big crowd in Nuremberg, and he motivated them with a dream to do horrible things. Now, they were thinking, when they went out and did that, they weren't thinking, I don't believe that most of them were thinking that this is great, we're going to kill Jews. They were thinking, we're going to be great again.
Yeah.
And if the price that there is to pay is we're going to have to annihilate all these, okay, we'll have to do that. Maybe we won't really have to do it, and maybe he's just saying that. But the dream is what they bought into.
Dream was more important.
Dream is more important. MLK made a dream, and it motivated a lot of people, and they went out and they really changed the world. Okay, we come to this election. You get a guy, and he had a dream. He articulated a vision of what could be. Now, if you really wanted to examine the particulars of it, was it really practical? Was it ever really going to happen?
Real. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Really? Is this stuff really going to happen? Would it even be feasible if this stuff would happen? And even one guy, I heard the guy say, he said, I'm living in this town. I used to work in a steel mill. They tore down the steel mill. It's gone. He's not going to rebuild the steel mill, but I'm still voting for him. Because even if he only does 10% of what he said he's going to do, it's going to be great.
Right. That's how
So
elections work.
he said, you can't just rebuild the steel mill once it's gone. He understood that. But this idea that...
But he did understand that, right?
He did. He said straight out, he understood that. Right. But the idea that we can be great again, that was something that he bought into, and this change of direction towards the lost greatness coming back, it resonated amongst a lot of people who normally or who previously didn't vote. Not that they voted the other way, they didn't even vote, right? And they went out and they voted.
So you're saying Make America Great Again was pretty much the same thing as hope and change.
Yep.
It's, picture it, imagine it, hope and change is going to be great.
Right.
Make America
and
great.
there were people that voted for hope and change, that voted for Make America Great Again, because their pain is their daily pain, and it turns out that's a pain of an awful lot of people, is that they look around and they say, I used to feel really great about this place. I used to feel maybe great about this company I worked for, or I used to feel great about this town I lived in, but I don't feel that way anymore. And when I felt good about it, I put up with a lot of garbage because I felt good about it. But now I don't feel good about it, so I'm not willing to put up with any garbage. I want to feel good again. And this guy, whether it's young, dynamic, and dashing Mr. Barack Obama, or older, older, powerful, ranting and raving Donald Trump, but whatever it is, they articulate a vision. On the other hand, of course, Donald Trump was against a woman who never articulated any vision whatsoever.
That's absolutely the case.
I mean, zero vision.
And there was not. Nope.
What did she say? She said,
not Donald Trump.
She said, he's not fit.
Right.
What's your vision? What would life look like? And basically what everyone said was, well, if she gets in, then life looks like more of the same. And we all agreed we don't like that.
No. Yep, you're right.
So she did not articulate a vision. For example, she was going to be the woman that broke the glass ceiling. What would it look like when you break the glass ceiling?
I can't really picture that. Well, she did have her almost victory party in a glass building. That's the only thing they were showing.
And what would have been different? She did not put out a vision that anyone could buy into. If she could have somehow figured out something, I don't know what that vision would have been, but she could have come up with something that she could have put forward. When women break the glass ceiling, the world will be X.
Well, I mean, you're right, because Bernie Sanders, he had that
That's
dream
right.
as well. He
That's
had the same
right.
thing. And,
he did startlingly good compared to what we would have expected.
He had the system going against him there a little bit, but no, that's why he had such a enthusiastic crowd, and she did not. And that's actually a very good point.
That's
I'll
right.
Give you that. I'll give you
he
that.
had a dream. He had a dream. His dream was maybe very different. In certain ways, they both agreed on one thing. Trump and Sanders both understood that the people are unhappy and they want a dream. They're unhappy with what's going on and they want a dream to latch on to.
So what you're saying is you don't believe all these people that were following Bernie Sanders were socialists, we want communism, we want socialism, and the people that are following Trump don't want specifically the same thing, but they followed the dream.
They wanted a dream and a dream is not this. I imagine something different. And when we have a dream, we can do powerful things. And why do I say we? I talk about the Jews. If you read the Torah this past the election day, the election Sabbath edition of the Torah.
Absolutely.
Right, the one that was read right after. What's really interesting? God says to Abraham, go to this land that I will show you. And there I will make you into a great nation. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. Now, Abraham's just a guy. He's just out there.
And he also gave Abraham a little hat, I think, with a baseball cap that said that.
Yeah, right.
I think he did.
Right.
Maybe I got that wrong. I might have read the wrong version.
Right. Yeah, I got to check your library sometime.
I may have been wrong.
He takes him out there. He brings him to this land. He says, walk throughout the land. You and your children will inherit it. And Abraham's like, I don't even have children. Like my child, I'm 70, and I don't even have children. 75, I don't have children, and you tell me I'm going to inherit this land, and there's all these powerful nations. It's inhabited, full of people, powerful governments, armies, and you're going to inherit that. What? You know what this is like? Stand up. I'm standing on top of the Empire State Building. I'm looking out at Manhattan. Wow, this is what a grand view. Guy says to me, you're going to own this someday. The whole thing. Oh, yeah, really? So all the way from down there, all the way up to the Bronx. You're going to own it, including Central Park. So what I said to him, I said, you know what? New York is full of kooks.
Right.
What if I get to the next world and they found out, you know why you don't own Manhattan? You didn't believe the guy when he told you you're going to own Manhattan.
Wow.
Right? Because if the guy would tell me that, I wouldn't buy into the dream. That's where Abraham was at. God says again to him, going a little bit further, he says, after Lot leaves him, they separate, and God says to him, look at the dust. The dust, that's how many children you're going to have. Abraham goes, I'm an old man. I don't have any kids. Later on, he takes it out and says, look at the stars. That's how many children. You keep reading the whole Torah portion. Keep promises, promises, promises. And then it says that Abraham believed in God, and God registered that as an act of charity. Because Abraham decided to believe in the dream. As illogical as it was, he decided to believe in a dream. And what's that dream? The dream is all of the families of the world are going to be blessed because of you. You, Abraham, are going to be the one that's going to bring this whole world to its great and proper state of fulfillment and happiness if, you believe in this dream. And Abraham said, okay, darn it, I'm going to believe in the dream.
Wow.
And he believed in the dream. And guess what? You got children of his and children's children that have been put up with so much.
That's true.
That have been so kicked around, that have been so scattered, that have been so oppressed. And yet, they're still believing that ultimately the whole world is going to come to its fruition through Abraham's children. It is wild that they believe in this dream. And look what happened. They believe in the dream, and because of that, they still exist. Because of that, they still make ridiculously disproportionate contributions to impacting the way the world is. I mean, not even worth talking about how ridiculously disproportionate the impact this small group of people has on the world. And then there's this dream about inheriting the land. And after all these years, these people are still sticking around and talking about inheriting the land. Some of them moved back there after 20, 30 centuries.
Yeah, that's true.
It's amazing.
Wow. So,
what kept them alive? The dream. They
Wow.
believed in the dream. You believe in that dream, it's really powerful.
Now, so let me just make something clear for viewers. You're not comparing Donald Trump to God or Abraham now, are we?
All I'm saying is
are you comparing the Jews to the Trump voters? Or where's the dream?
Donald Trump,
Right.
Martin Luther King, Barack Obama, and I don't want to put any of those three into the same category as Adolf Hitler.
No.
But plenty of others, and I could add a whole bunch of others to the
So
list.
it'd be good, bad, or whatever.
Good or bad, understood that what motivates people
Is
to
the
do
dream.
great things is the dream. Now that's the same thing. That's the same thing when they're getting ready to say charge, and then the guy, the officer speaks to him, and he says, you got a vision that your children, right? You're the free country, and our flag flying over
Right.
whatever the vision he paints for them. And he says charge, and they run. And if he doesn't paint that vision and say charge, that they can not only they can feel it, they can taste it,
Right.
that it's a reality to them, they won't charge. Now he might be telling them to charge to their death. It doesn't matter, and many times they do. Right? Because
Right, yeah.
the vision that he painted for them is absolutely and totally unobtainable. Could be. And I'm not saying that Trump's vision is obtainable or not. It might be totally unobtainable.
But he does, I just thought, have something in common, more in common with Martin Luther King and Barack Obama.
Yeah.
They're all three people of color. He just happens to be a little orange.
Right.
He's I just kind of realized that with the
Right.
picture of mine. He's just a little orange. But anyway,
That's
sorry
right.
that I
It's,
took it
it's
to a
like
different
he's
level.
he's like your Halloween candidate, right?
But it happens.
Yeah. So that's the big thing, is that ultimately, and this is an unusual capacity. Why should people have that? Why do we have the capacity to dream something that is becomes so real in our minds that it's an absolute reality?
Yeah.
And we know people are motivated by their dreams,
Oh, it's
and
what
they
gets
live their
that
dreams.
running back whose ankle is barely hanging on there to go in and run one more play.
That's right.
They get the same thing, the motivation, the dream, and they do it.
That's right, and people who feel like their bugs are crawling all over them
Right.
because they got something in their mind that told them it's happening,
Right.
and they're envisioning a reality that doesn't exist. That is an amazing capacity of the human mind, and tapping into that is key. All I'm saying is, all those people had dreams. Whether Martin Luther King's, Donald Trump's, Barack Obama's dreams were obtainable or not, I think that they would all have to say, well, Trump can't say yet, but I think in the end he will say, to a certain extent, right?
Listen,
Obama's was obtainable to a certain extent. I'm sure he walks away feeling very unfulfilled in certain ways.
Thank God.
Then he didn't get his dream or tried, got close, whatever it is, I think Martin Luther King's dream is still not obtained, maybe someday obtainable, hasn't reached there yet, not what he would have liked, but they nonetheless, they capitalize on that. What God says, it's true, what they were after, the idea of a dream. And that's why we read, all God did to Abraham, the entire Abraham story is promises, 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 promises. He got nothing out of it. He died seeing none of his promises fulfilled except the fact that he had one son.
Right.
Yeah, he died. Actually, he saw that his son had two sons. So that much of his promise, he did. Yes, Abraham died. By the time Abraham died, the Isaac had already had twins. They were not yet bar mitzvah.
Right.
They weren't bar mitzvah. He died before the twins were bar mitzvah, Jacob and Esau.
Right.
But he died. If you calculate the dates, you'll see that he was alive when Isaac's. So he saw grandchildren. But, I mean, did he see, your children are going to be numerous like the dust on the earth and the stars in the heaven? Are they going to inherit the land? He didn't see any of that. He lived his life for a dream. Look at the legacy he left.
Which is amazing. And the thing that I guess people will wonder, okay, obviously I understand the dream of the Jews and the legacy is amazing where they are today, but the capability of people to dream, as you mentioned, can be quite dangerous as well. The dream of Hirohito, the dream of Mussolini, the dream of Hitler, the dream of many people hasn't turned out too well in society. So it's an amazing thing. So, but the dream of the Jews, we're saying, and that's what the whole purpose was. Right. That's what God did. He put those promises in Abraham's head. Abraham felt it, realized it, went forward, and look what's happened.
Right. I do believe, by the way, that even the Hitler dream was fundamentally based on actually that Germany is going to be great again.
Yeah, it was.
Now, then once everyone bought into that dream, then he added the next component is, and in order to do that, we got to get rid of Jews and all these other people. Well, okay, once they'd already bought into the dream, that was a smaller step to say, well, I guess, whatever the price is that has to be paid for being great again. But once they bought into the great again dream. So dreams can be super dangerous. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and that's when I started off the show, I felt with the progressive dream. Listen, we're progressive, we're nice, we're good people. But again, it turns out to the point where it can be dangerous to people who don't agree with your dream.
Absolutely.
And if people don't agree with your dream, where it can become a fascist situation. If your dream is too strong and the desire to accomplish that dream is too heavy, there can be some casualties on the other side of it.
Right. And if things get in the way, everyone has this. From the liberal end of the spectrum, the liberals are worried about people with disabilities. They're worried about people of various colors. They're worried about immigrants. They're worried about the women. They're worried about many people.
Cross-dressers.
And to the extent that in order to be worried about these people, if it means that I have to give up on some of my comforts, some of the other people, they'll take away someone else's. They will do that, right? And that's just what has to be done. However, if you were to talk about the unborn and the dream of the unborn, let's say, living and everything, right? So forget that. That doesn't fit. That won't fit. That won't go. Because and what about impugning on the rights or restricting the rights of the mother? Now, if they were strict marriage, let's say I have a company and I want to install a bathroom. And I have to install a certain, because of people with disabilities, I have to install a certain size bathroom. It costs money. It takes away from some of my floor space. It costs me extra money. I have to put in a toilet, which is not as convenient, and so on and so forth. Okay. All those things are understandable. And we say because of the people with disabilities, everyone else has to suffer a bit because of that. Which is, okay, logical, and I'll buy that. But when we talk about the unborn person who perhaps would want to be born and live a life, then we say, no, you can't cause anyone to suffer at their expense.
Right.
Well, how did you come up with that logic? It is illogical because once you buy into a dream and the dream has a certain vision, then, the pieces that don't fit, you make them fit.
Right. Dreams can be dangerous, but as we see, dreams can also be pretty good.
Yeah.
As you see with Abraham.
That's right.
I mean, because but it's interesting because we are the only animal on the planet that has them.
That's right.
I've seen my dog sleep. Sometimes his foot moves like that. I think he's dreaming, but I don't know if it's the same.
Yeah,
thing.
it's like, it's a bone or it's,
he's running. In his
Right.
dream, but
Right.
not as deep, I think, as
Right.
the dreams
Right.
that
That
the
we
Jews have here.
can literally envision entire scenarios. Listen, how many people had a dream? How many athletes that they were playing like a kitty ball,
Football, right?
like a little league football, and the guy dreamed of himself. You hear it every time they inaugurate these guys into the Hall of Fame of whatever sport, and he says, I remember my coach when I was in 9th grade, and I had this dream, and here I am today, and I can't believe it. But the truth is, what happened to that kid is, in 9th grade, he bought into the dream, and he pursued it, and he made it. Now, there's a lot of other kids bought into that dream also, but they broke a leg along the way or whatever, and the reality shattered their dream, and they're still struggling to find another dream. But the dream is a tremendous motivator.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Good or bad, it's a tremendous motivator. And for the Jews and for Abraham, things have worked out pretty well so
That's
far.
right. That's right. We're still doing it against amazing odds.
It's true. Rabbi Friedman is giving you his election lowdown. Take it or leave it.
That's my read on it.
It's his read on it. All right. See you next week. Hopefully things will still be okay.
Yeah.